Hi, I'm Ethan. I love muzzleloading. Today I'm going to show you how to turn a hardware store hole saw into a muzzleloading patch cutter. In quite a few of my videos, people see me using pre-cut muzzleloading patches when I'm out on the range and just plinking for fun. And I get a lot of questions about how to make your own pre-cut patches to save a little money and save a little time when you're at the range so you don't have to cut at the muzzle if that's your kind of thing. You know, statistically, when we look and ask people in muzzleloading if there's much of a difference, we don't see a whole lot, and this is not by any means something that you have to do. Pre-cut patches really just come down to the goal with this hole saw is to make a patch cutter for a 50 caliber long rifle. This rifle is going to be shooting a .495 round ball. So to start here, we've got a 1 1/4 to 1 5/8 inch hole saw here from the Ace Hardware in town. I know you're going to ask, what sized hole saw do I need for my muzzleloading caliber? I don't have a chart right now, but the goal for your muzzleloading patch is to cover the circumference of your round ball. So you want it to go around half and cross over the halfway point on your round ball to fully engage that round ball and tie it into the rifling. To find the size patch that you need, I recommend just cutting a piece of your typical patch material, cutting into a strip or a rectangle, place it on your muzzle, and just tap your round ball into that size and cut off that patch at the muzzle, just like you would if you were cutting off the patch at the muzzle and going shooting. From there, don't short start the ball, just pull on the patch to pop that out, and from there you can get a rough measurement that will correlate to the sized hole saw that you need. You can also size off of some pre-cut patches that you've purchased from a muzzleloading supply shop or a muzzleloading business. Now that we've got our hole saw from the hardware store here, our first step is going to be to grind the teeth away to make that cutting edge with its teeth as it comes from the store flat and smooth. We're using a belt grinder here, and because we're throwing off all these sparks, creating a lot of heat, you're going to want to cool intermittently with water. So that's what you see my father here as he's working, dunking the hole saw into some water to keep it cool, both to protect the metal so we don't get the metal too hot, but then also to protect his hands as he's working it. And I recommend you do the same. Also, another safety note, you want to make sure to wear some kind of breathing mask or respirator and hearing protection when you're doing this. I think that goes without saying, but I just want to say that right here, just in case you're moving forward without that stuff. Once you have the teeth removed, you can begin to grind the exterior bevel on this hole saw to begin to create your cutting edge. Hold the hole saw at a consistent angle as you rotate it and grind that outer edge. And you want to make sure you're keeping a consistent edge as you rotate this around. So between the paint and the end of your hole saw, you want to try to create a consistent band of that shiny metal where you're removing the material. This is going to help you keep that on the mark, and it's going to help you make it sharper down the road without having to go in and re-flatten and reorient yourself in this process. As you're doing this, you can check the interior of your hole saw for a burr as you work your finger around the end that you're grinding. Once you have a burr forming there, you know that you're getting close and you're creating an edge because you're beginning to move material past the center point. So if this here was your outer edge of your hole saw, as you begin to grind it, that outer edge is going to continue closer and closer to the interior edge. And once it breaks across that, that's what's going to form that burr. And that tells you that you're almost there, and it's almost time to start working with some smaller tools. Once you have a consistent bevel on the outside and a consistent burr running around the inside, it's time to step away from the belt grinder and go to just a small half-round file is all you really need, and break that burr just to check and make sure that everything looks uniform. It's really important that you don't make the end of your punch too thin. It's going to make it weaker down the road. And although you're not putting this punch through a lot of strain, it's not really a durable material that you're cutting, getting that too thin and then subsequently too hot can damage that metal, and your punch might not last as long. Next, we're moving over to a small Dremel with a small rotary sanding wheel. We're going to work the interior edge and the exterior edge and just bring this whole thing as much as we can as a whole to a sharp edge all at once. So in doing this, we don't want to focus on one single section or quadrant or slice, we'll say, of this hole saw. We want to make sure that we're working the entire circumference of the circle that we're cutting all at once, continually rotating with the Dremel in hand to remove material. This is going to create a nice even edge for us. And that goes the same for the interior as it does the exterior. This point here with the Dremel is really where you want to refine this, get it nice and sharp so you're ready to go cut some patches. Once you think you have it sharp enough, take it over to some patches, back it with some rubber or maybe some soft wood underneath so you're not going to damage the punch. You don't want to punch through fabric into metal. you know, find some kind of rubber mat. We're using a piece of old conveyor belt here to test out the patch. But you can see in the video here, we go through a couple iterations where we notice that sections of the punch aren't as sharp as other sections. So you just want to go back and forth gently and resharpen those areas where you're not seeing the patch cut through, and adjust the edge of your hole saw, now your patch punch, until you get a clean round cut in your patch. From there, you can just cut patches to your heart's content. You'll find a lot of people will do them singly, you know, just one patch at a time. But as you can see here in the video, it works very well folding over the fabric so you can cut several patches at once. In this video, we're using a rubber kind of safety mallet, as you can pick up at the hardware store. But I've also had good experience putting this same rubber and using this same punch into a small benchtop arbor press. This gives me a lot more leverage, a lot more mechanical advantage over the punch and the fabric, and I can find I can almost cut 10 patches at a time using an arbor press like that with this same style punch. And that's it. That's a really simple way for you to use a hardware store hole saw. It already comes in a variety of sizes there on the rack to turn it into your own muzzleloading patch cutter. Just a little tools, a little bit of time. I don't think this took really more than half an hour to get knocked out and to get right. And it's just kind of a fun project for you. So maybe if you have somebody that's you know, a young kid, maybe that's in 4-H shooting sports, and they need a project for their muzzleloading 4-H project. You know, this could be the kind of fun thing for you to learn and practice some of your grinding skills out there, and have, you know, a piece for your muzzleloading toolbox that you might not have had before. Now, if you're not interested in the DIY process or doing any math to try to figure out what patch size you need, there are a couple off-the-shelf options for you to check out. I'm really just going to mention terms here for you to go out and look on your own when you have the opportunity. As always, please try to shop with the muzzleloading mom and pop shops, the small businesses that have supported muzzleloading for generations. I have a full list at ilovemuzzleloading.com, and I'm adding to it as much as I can. So if you'd like your business featured, please let me know. Free of charge. I'm trying to do this to make a source for people so that newcomers don't get roped into some of the scam sites that we've seen pop up. But you're going to want to search for a wad cutter. You can find these in a lot of different diameters. You know, they're many times used for, you know, muzzleloading shotguns or some of the black powder cartridge stuff, but the punch is going to work the same to cut your favorite patching material. You can also just cut square patches with a set of scissors. It's really simple, but you know, you're going to go through a little bit more fabric, but it does not take a lot of time at all, and you're going to get very similar performance out of a square patch as you are the pre-cut round patch. And then if you're just dying to order something online, I found the search term arch punch is the kind of thing that you're going to want to order and take a look at. I've got a whole box of these punches. I didn't know the term appropriately to call them. I just always kind of called them patch cutters or circle punches. This is a really heavy duty punch that you can use to cut out leather and maybe some thin wood or other pieces of scrap out there. That works really well for cutting your muzzleloading patches. So that's it. I hope this answers some of your questions on how you can make your own muzzleloading patch cutter or how you can order one to cut your own muzzleloading patches. Personally, I don't find a whole lot of difference between a square patch or a round patch. I think it really just comes down to the patch thickness that you're using and maybe some of the lube that you might have on it to make it a little easier to load and shoot and clean up. But I hope this answers some of your questions. As always, when it comes to muzzleloading, if you ask 10 different people how to do something, you're going to get 12 or 15 different answers. This is just one way to do it, but I hope it provides a little insight and maybe inspires you to get out to your shop or your garage to make a little something for your muzzleloading gear. I'm Ethan. I love muzzleloading. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next time.